Chosen one, God says you are being moved from where you suffered to where you truly belong. Do not scroll. Do not skip this message. Stay until the very end because heaven is about to reveal why your spirit has felt restless, disconnected, and emotionally exhausted lately. This is not random. This is transition. And the shift happening around your life right now carries divine purpose. My beloved child, listen carefully. Archangel Michael is standing beside your path saying, if they leave too early, they may miss the confirmation heaven is urgently trying to place into their spirit before the move begins. Stay here, because what God is about to do in your life will separate you permanently from the environment where your soul almost disappeared. Chosen one, there were seasons where you became so familiar with pain that suffering started feeling normal. You learned how to survive emotionally drained. You learned how to smile while your spirit quietly carried exhaustion. Nobody around you truly understood. Some places broke your confidence. Some relationships weakened your peace. Some environments slowly disconnected you from the person heaven created you to become. And for a long time, you thought you had no choice except to remain there emotionally, spiritually, or physically. But God says the season of remaining trapped where you suffered is ending now. Read that carefully again. The season of suffering in the wrong place is ending. Type Amen if you believe God is moving you somewhere better. My beloved child, the enemy wanted you rooted in environments that constantly weakened your spirit. Why? Because wounded chosen ones become easier to control emotionally. Pain clouds discernment. Exhaustion weakens confidence. Constant disappointment makes people settle beneath their true calling. That is why confusion surrounded you for so long. That is why your spirit felt heavy around certain people. That is why some places drained your energy even when nothing obvious looked wrong externally. Your soul recognized misalignment before your mind fully understood it. Do not scroll now, because this next revelation may completely explain the discomfort you have been feeling recently. Archangel Michael says, heaven has already decided you can no longer remain where your spirit keeps shrinking. Read that carefully again. You can no longer remain where your spirit keeps shrinking. Some environments were temporary assignments, not permanent destinations. Some people were lessons, not lifelong companions. Some seasons existed only to teach you discernment before destiny unfolded fully. But you stayed too long emotionally because fear made suffering feel safer than uncertainty. Fear of starting over. Fear of losing familiar connections. Fear of leaving places tied to your history. But God says your future cannot fully open while you remain emotionally attached to environments connected to your suffering. Chosen one, your spirit has already started outgrowing certain spaces. Conversations that once entertained you now feel empty. Relationships that once felt comfortable now feel emotionally exhausting. Places you once loved now carry strange heaviness around your soul. You thought something was wrong with you. But heaven says your spirit is recognizing it no longer belongs there. Type 1111 if you feel disconnected from old environments lately. My beloved child, there were nights where you prayed for relief without realizing heaven's answer would require movement. Sometimes God does not heal chosen ones by fixing the old environment. Sometimes heaven heals by relocating them completely. Read that carefully again. Sometimes healing requires relocation. Archangel Michael says the place where you suffered cannot become the place where your destiny fully blooms. Why? Because environments shape energy. Constant emotional warfare drains spiritual focus. Being surrounded by confusion weakens clarity. And heaven says your next chapter requires peace. Your current environment cannot provide anymore. This is why your spirit feels restless now. Your soul senses movement approaching. Chosen one, there is another hidden reason heaven is moving you. The version of you created through suffering no longer matches the environment where the suffering began. Pain changed your awareness. Betrayal sharpened your discernment. Isolation deepened your relationship with God. You are not the same person anymore. Read that carefully again. You are not the same person anymore. And because you changed internally, your external environment must eventually change too. My beloved child, the enemy hoped your suffering would convince you to remain small forever. Darkness wanted your confidence buried beneath survival mode permanently. They wanted you emotionally attached to places that constantly reminded you of pain, rejection, and limitation. But God says your identity is no longer tied to the season that wounded you. You are being called higher now. Type 777 if you believe God is preparing a new season for your life. Chosen one, there are angels surrounding your future assignment, because where heaven is taking you next carries unusual significance. The people connected to your next chapter will not drain your spirit the same way. The opportunities approaching your future will not constantly require emotional survival just to maintain them. The environment ahead carries alignment instead of constant warfare. That does not mean perfection, but it means peace. And peace is something your soul desperately needs after everything you survived. Archangel Michael says, many chosen ones remain trapped because they mistake familiarity for destiny. Just because something feels familiar does not mean it belongs in your future. Sometimes familiar environments become dangerous because pain trained your spirit to tolerate emotional discomfort for too long. But heaven says your tolerance is changing now. You no longer fit where your spirit suffers constantly. You no longer belong where your peace disappears daily. You no longer align with places that force you to shrink your light. And this realization marks the beginning of transition. Do not scroll now, because this next part is critical. The move approaching your life may begin internally before it becomes visible externally. First, your mindset changes, then your desires change, then your standards change. And eventually your environment must change too, because your spirit no longer resonates with the same frequency emotionally. This is why certain people feel distant lately. This is why old habits feel empty. This is why your soul craves deeper peace and clearer purpose now. Heaven is preparing you for relocation spiritually before relocation manifests physically. Type Amen if you feel God changing your spirit internally. My beloved child, there is also someone listening right now who secretly fears leaving the environment where suffering became familiar. Part of you knows God is calling you higher, but another part still feels emotionally attached to old cycles because they are predictable. But Archangel Michael says predictable suffering is still suffering. Read that carefully again. Predictable suffering is still suffering. God did not create you to spend your life surviving emotionally inside places where your spirit slowly dies. You were created for purpose, created for peace, created for alignment. And heaven says the process of moving you toward where you belong has already begun. Chosen one, very soon there will be undeniable signs confirming this transition. New opportunities may appear unexpectedly. Certain relationships may naturally fade. New desires may awaken inside your spirit. Even your energy may shift because your soul already senses the new season approaching before your eyes fully see it. When that happens, do not resist the movement, because God is not removing you to punish you. He is moving you because you finally outgrew the place where you suffered. But as this transition continues unfolding around your life, chosen one, Archangel Michael says the emotional discomfort you have been feeling lately will begin making more sense. Your spirit is no longer fighting merely to survive. Your soul is preparing to relocate into alignment, and that process often feels uncomfortable before clarity fully arrives. Do not scroll now. Stay with me carefully, because this next revelation may completely explain why your old life suddenly feels too small for the person you are becoming. My beloved child, there were seasons where you tried to force yourself to remain connected to places that no longer nourished your spirit. You stayed in conversations that drained your peace. You tolerated environments that weakened your confidence. You kept returning to people who repeatedly reopened emotional wounds. Why? Because familiarity felt safer than change. Even painful cycles can become emotionally comfortable when they repeat long enough. But God says comfort is not always alignment. Read that carefully again. Comfort is not always alignment. Type Amen if you believe heaven is leading you somewhere greater. Chosen one, your spirit has been carrying signs of transition for a long time now. The exhaustion you feel around certain people is not random. The emotional heaviness connected to old environments is not random. The sudden desire for peace, solitude, healing, and purpose is not random. Your soul already senses that where you once belonged no longer matches your future, and that realization can feel lonely before new alignment appears. Archangel Michael says, many chosen ones become afraid during this stage. Because the old season begins collapsing before the new season becomes fully visible. Relationships weaken. Familiar routines lose meaning. Emotional attachment to old environments starts breaking apart slowly. And during that process, it can feel like everything stable is disappearing. But heaven says what feels like loss is often relocation. Read that carefully again. What feels like loss is often relocation. My beloved child, there is another hidden reason God is moving you from where you suffered. The environment where your pain developed cannot sustain the healed version of you for much longer. Some places only knew the wounded version of you. Some people became comfortable with your silence, your insecurity, and your emotional exhaustion. But your spirit is changing now. Your confidence is returning. Your discernment is sharpening. Your standards are rising. And not every environment can handle the healed version of a chosen one. Type 1111 if you feel yourself changing internally. Chosen one. There were nights where you begged God to fix certain people, certain relationships, or certain situations around you. But Archangel Michael says heaven sometimes answers prayers by removing chosen ones instead of changing the environment itself. Because some places are too deeply connected to your suffering season to carry your destiny safely. Read that carefully again. Some places cannot carry your destiny safely. This is why your spirit feels restless now. This is why peace disappears when you try forcing yourself to stay emotionally attached to what heaven is slowly pulling you away from. Your soul knows movement is necessary, even when your emotions still fear the unknown. My beloved child, the enemy wanted you permanently trapped inside environments where your gifts remained hidden beneath survival mode. Darkness knew that if your spirit ever reached true alignment, your confidence would grow stronger, your discernment would deepen, and your purpose would become difficult to delay any longer. That is why emotional exhaustion followed you so heavily in old seasons. That is why confusion constantly surrounded your decisions. That is why certain environments felt spiritually heavy no matter how hard you tried to remain positive inside them. Your spirit was reacting to misalignment. Archangel Michael says, heaven is not punishing you through separation. Heaven is rescuing you through transition. Type 777 if you believe God is moving you toward peace. Chosen one. There is also someone listening right now who secretly fears starting over emotionally. You invested years into certain people, places, and dreams. Part of you wonders whether leaving behind familiar suffering means losing a piece of yourself permanently. But God says the version of you connected to that suffering was never your final identity. Read that carefully again. Your suffering identity was never your final identity. The person you are becoming now carries wisdom your old self never possessed. Pain deepened your discernment. Loneliness strengthened your relationship with God. Betrayal taught you how valuable peace truly is. And because your spirit evolved, your environment must evolve too. My beloved child, Archangel Michael says your next chapter carries people who will not constantly weaken your spirit emotionally. The environment ahead carries opportunities aligned with your healing, instead of your wounds. The season approaching your life will not require endless emotional survival simply to maintain basic peace. That is why heaven is moving you now. Not because you failed where you suffered, because you outgrew it. Type Amen. If you believe you have outgrown old pain, chosen one, there are angels surrounding your future assignment because the move approaching your life affects more than your location physically. This transition affects your identity, your confidence, your relationships, your purpose, and your emotional health. Heaven is rebuilding your life around alignment instead of survival, and alignment changes everything. You will think differently. You will choose differently. You will recognize danger faster. You will stop shrinking your spirit to fit inside places where your soul feels unseen. That transformation is sacred. Protect it carefully. My beloved child, there were moments where your intuition quietly warned you that certain places no longer belonged in your future. But fear made you hesitate. Fear of loneliness, fear of uncertainty, fear of leaving behind what once felt emotionally safe. But Archangel Michael says, emotional safety built around suffering is still bondage. Read that carefully again. Emotional safety built around suffering is still bondage. God did not create you to remain emotionally imprisoned inside places where your spirit slowly weakens over time. You were created for life, for peace, for purpose, for alignment, and heaven says your relocation has already begun spiritually. Chosen one, very soon you will notice undeniable confirmation that this transition is real. Some people may naturally distance themselves. Certain opportunities may suddenly appear. You may feel drawn toward unfamiliar directions that strangely bring peace instead of fear. Pay attention to those moments, because heaven often whispers before movement becomes visible loudly. Archangel Michael says the next season of your life will feel different emotionally. Less confusion, less emotional warfare, less exhaustion from constantly trying to survive spiritually draining environments. Not because every challenge disappears, but because where you belong strengthens your spirit instead of constantly draining it. Type 444 if you believe God is guiding your next chapter. My beloved child, there is another reason this process feels emotionally intense right now. Part of your soul is grieving the life you thought would work out differently. You imagine certain people remaining forever. You imagine certain environments eventually becoming peaceful. You imagine certain doors finally changing. But heaven says some things were only temporary chapters, not permanent assignments, and temporary seasons must end so destiny can unfold correctly. Read that carefully again. Temporary seasons must end so destiny can unfold correctly. Chosen one, stop blaming yourself because your spirit no longer fits where you suffered. Growth changes people, healing changes desires, wisdom changes standards. And heaven says your discomfort is confirmation that your soul is moving closer toward where it truly belongs now. The old environment cannot contain the healed version of you anymore. That is why the shift feels unavoidable. That is why your spirit keeps craving more peace, more purpose, more alignment. And very soon, you will understand why God refused to let you remain where your soul almost disappeared. And now, chosen one, Archangel Michael says the separation from your old environment is becoming unavoidable because your spirit can no longer survive comfortably inside places that constantly drain your peace. The version of you heaven is awakening now requires a completely different atmosphere to grow correctly. Do not scroll now. Stay with me carefully because this next revelation may completely explain why your soul has felt emotionally detached from certain people, places, and routines lately. My beloved child, there were seasons where you convinced yourself to keep staying where you were suffering because you hoped things would eventually change. You kept giving chances. You kept tolerating emotional heaviness. You kept silencing your intuition because part of you feared losing familiar connections more than losing your own peace. But heaven says your spirit paid a price every time you ignored discernment. Read that carefully again. Ignoring discernment always costs peace. Type Amen if you are learning to trust your spirit now. Chosen one, there is another hidden reason God is moving you from where you suffered. The old environment carries too many memories connected to pain, rejection, fear, and emotional exhaustion. Every time you tried rebuilding yourself there, the atmosphere around you kept pulling your spirit back toward old survival patterns. But heaven says you cannot fully heal while remaining emotionally rooted in the place where your identity kept breaking apart. Read that carefully again. You cannot fully heal while remaining rooted in suffering. Archangel Michael says, many chosen ones delay their elevation because they keep trying to bloom in environments that were only designed for temporary survival. Some places sheltered you during one season, but they were never meant to become your permanent spiritual home. And now your soul knows it. That is why your energy feels different. That is why old conversations feel empty. That is why your spirit craves distance, clarity, and deeper peace now more than ever before. Your soul recognizes movement before your mind fully accepts it emotionally. My beloved child, the enemy wanted you trapped in cycles where exhaustion became normal. Darkness hoped you would confuse constant struggle with destiny. They wanted you emotionally attached to environments that slowly drained your confidence, your creativity, and your relationship with God. Because tired chosen ones stop dreaming, exhausted chosen ones settle. Emotionally wounded chosen ones accept less than heaven planned for their future. But God says that cycle is breaking now. Type 1111 if you believe God is breaking old cycles over your life. Chosen one, there were moments where your spirit quietly whispered that you no longer belonged where you were. You felt it during conversations. You felt it after interactions with certain people. You felt it in environments that once brought comfort, but now leave your soul feeling strangely heavy afterward. Those feelings were not random. That was discernment awakening. Archangel Michael says, "Heaven often makes chosen ones uncomfortable in old environments before opening the door to new alignment." Why? Because discomfort creates movement. If old seasons remained emotionally comfortable forever, many chosen ones would never leave places connected to limitation. So heaven allows restlessness, not to punish you, to reposition you. Read that carefully again. Restlessness can be divine repositioning. My beloved child, there is also someone listening right now who secretly fears becoming isolated during this transition. You wonder who will remain once the old environment fully fades away. You fear loneliness. You fear uncertainty. You fear losing the familiar structure your life depended on emotionally for so long, but heaven says temporary loneliness is safer than permanent misalignment. Read that carefully again. Temporary loneliness is safer than permanent misalignment. Archangel Michael says where God is leading you next carries people who recognize your value without constantly draining your spirit. The next chapter carries environments where your peace can grow instead of constantly fighting to survive emotionally, and your soul desperately needs that healing. Chosen one. The process of leaving where you suffered may happen gradually. Some doors will close quietly. Some relationships will naturally weaken. Some desires you once chased passionately will suddenly lose emotional power over your spirit. Do not resist these shifts. This is heaven, untangling your soul from environments connected to your old pain. Type 777 if you feel God pulling you towards something new. My beloved child, there is another truth heaven needs you to understand tonight. The suffering season changed you permanently. You are no longer emotionally compatible with the environment where the pain first shaped you. Earlier versions of yourself tolerated confusion because your discernment was still developing. Earlier versions of yourself accepted emotional instability because you feared abandonment deeply. But suffering awakened wisdom. Now your spirit notices inconsistency quickly. Now your soul craves peace more than emotional intensity. Now your heart understands that alignment feels calm instead of constantly chaotic. And because of that growth, you can no longer remain where your spirit keeps shrinking. Chosen one. Archangel Michael says your next chapter carries divine restoration. Not just external change, internal healing. The kind of healing where your nervous system finally relaxes. The kind where peace stops feeling unfamiliar. The kind where your spirit no longer wakes up preparing for emotional warfare every single day. That is where heaven is leading you. Toward restoration, toward alignment, toward environments where your soul can breathe again. Read that carefully again. God is leading you toward environments where your soul can breathe again. My beloved child, there are angels surrounding your future assignment because your relocation affects more than your comfort emotionally. This move is connected to purpose. There are opportunities waiting for you in places your current environment cannot access. There are relationships assigned to your healing that cannot reach you while you remain spiritually stuck in old cycles. This is why movement became necessary, because destiny cannot fully unfold inside the atmosphere where survival became your identity. Type Amen if you believe heaven is guiding your future. Chosen one. Very soon there will be moments where the separation from your old life becomes undeniable. People who once felt central to your future may suddenly feel distant. Places that once carried emotional attachment may no longer hold the same power over your spirit. And strangely, instead of fear, you will begin feeling peace. That peace is confirmation. Archangel Michael says, peace is one of heaven's strongest signs of alignment. Not emotional chaos, not confusion, not constant exhaustion trying to force things to work. Peace. And where God is moving you next carries more peace than the place where you suffered ever could. My beloved child, one day you will look back and realize heaven was saving your spirit when things started falling apart, the relationships ending, the discomfort increasing, the emotional detachment growing. None of it was random. God was loosening your attachment to environments too small for your destiny. Read that carefully again. God was loosening your attachment to environments too small for your destiny. Chosen one. The enemy wanted your suffering to become permanent identity. But heaven says your identity is not the wounded one. Your identity is not the rejected one. Your identity is not the exhausted one. You are chosen. You are guided. You are protected. And you are being moved toward the place where your spirit truly belongs. Archangel Michael says this transition will eventually reveal why certain things never worked no matter how hard you tried to fix them. Some places were never meant to become your final destination. Some relationships were never designed to carry your full destiny. Some environments only existed to teach lessons before heaven opened the real door. And now, the real door is beginning to appear ahead of you. And now, chosen one, Archangel Michael says the final stage of your relocation has already begun in the spirit. Even if your eyes have not fully seen the evidence yet, heaven is no longer allowing your soul to remain trapped where it suffered, where it shrank, where it survived instead of truly lived. Do not scroll now. Stay with me until the very end, because this final revelation may completely confirm what your spirit has been sensing quietly for a long time. My beloved child, there were seasons where you became emotionally attached to environments that slowly destroyed your peace, because suffering became familiar. You learned how to function inside emotional heaviness. You learned how to survive around people who drained your energy. You learned how to silence your intuition just to maintain connections that repeatedly wounded your spirit. And after enough time, you began calling survival normal. But heaven says survival was never your final assignment. Read that carefully again. Survival was never your final assignment. Type Amen if you believe God is leading you into a better season. Chosen one, the reason this transition feels emotionally intense is because part of your spirit is grieving the old life, while another part already senses the new life approaching. One side of you remembers the pain, the other side of you feels heaven calling you forward, and that emotional tension is natural during seasons of divine relocation. Archangel Michael says many chosen ones become afraid during transition because God starts removing emotional attachments before the replacement season fully appears. Familiar people begin fading, old routines lose meaning, environments once connected to comfort suddenly feel spiritually heavy, and for a moment, it feels like you belong nowhere. But heaven says this temporary discomfort is not abandonment, it is repositioning. Read that carefully again. This is repositioning. My beloved child, there is another hidden reason God refused to let you remain where you suffered. The environment where your spirit kept breaking could never support the healed version of you long term. Earlier versions of yourself tolerated emotional confusion because your discernment was still wounded. Earlier versions of yourself accepted instability because fear of loneliness felt stronger than love for peace. But suffering changed that. Now your soul recognizes when energy feels wrong. Now your spirit notices manipulation quickly. Now your peace matters more than temporary emotional attachment. And heaven says this wisdom proves you are ready for relocation. Type 1111 if you feel your standards changing spiritually. Chosen one, there were moments where you tried desperately to repair environments God was quietly calling you out of. You prayed for certain people to change. You begged heaven to restore situations that repeatedly exhausted your soul. You kept hoping the atmosphere around you would eventually become peaceful enough for your spirit to rest there safely. But Archangel Michael says some places cannot transform into your destiny because they were only designed to prepare you for it temporarily. Read that carefully again. Some places were preparation, not destination. And now your spirit knows it. That is why your energy no longer fits there naturally. That is why your soul feels restless. That is why your intuition keeps whispering that something bigger is waiting ahead. My beloved child, the enemy wanted you permanently attached to the place where your confidence broke apart because wounded chosen ones often stop believing they deserve better. Darkness wanted you emotionally dependent on environments where your gifts remained hidden beneath exhaustion and survival mode. Because tired souls stop dreaming, exhausted spirits stop pursuing purpose. Emotionally drained people settle for limitation because peace feels impossible after enough suffering. But heaven says your soul is waking up now. Read that carefully again. Your soul is waking up now. Chosen one, your next chapter carries restoration your current environment cannot provide. There are relationships approaching your future that will not constantly drain your peace. There are opportunities waiting for you that align with your healing instead of your wounds. There are spaces prepared for your spirit where you will no longer feel emotionally trapped trying to survive every day. That is why God is moving you, not to punish you, to restore you. Type 777 if you believe God is restoring your life. My beloved child, there is also someone listening right now who secretly fears what people will think once your transition becomes visible. You worry about disappointing others. You worry about being misunderstood. You worry about leaving behind people who only knew the suffering version of you. But heaven says not everyone is meant to understand your relocation. Some people only knew the wounded version of you because they were assigned to a temporary chapter. And temporary chapters must end for destiny to unfold correctly. Archangel Michael says stop apologizing because your spirit no longer belongs where it once survived. Growth changes desires. Healing changes environments. Wisdom changes relationships. And the healed version of you cannot continue shrinking itself to remain emotionally acceptable inside places connected to old pain. You outgrew survival mode. Read that carefully again. You outgrew survival mode. Chosen one. There are angels surrounding your future assignment because the move approaching your life carries divine alignment. The next season will not constantly force your nervous system into emotional warfare. The next chapter will not require endless self-abandonment just to maintain relationships. The next environment will strengthen your spirit instead of draining it daily, and your soul desperately needs that peace after everything it survived. My beloved child, there were nights where you begged God for signs because you felt trapped between staying and leaving emotionally. But heaven says the sign was your restlessness itself. Your spirit stopped feeling comfortable because your destiny was no longer connected to that atmosphere. Read that carefully again. Your discomfort was confirmation. Archangel Michael says heaven often makes chosen ones uncomfortable in old environments before relocation because comfort creates attachment. If the suffering season still felt emotionally safe, many chosen ones would never leave places connected to limitation. So God allows restlessness, not to confuse you, to move you. Type Amen if you trust God's direction now. Chosen one, very soon, there will be undeniable evidence that your transition has begun fully. Certain people may naturally lose access to your energy. New opportunities may appear unexpectedly. You may feel strangely drawn toward unfamiliar paths that carry peace instead of fear. Do not ignore these signs. Your soul already recognizes where it belongs before your mind fully understands it. Archangel Michael says the next chapter of your life will feel lighter emotionally, not because every challenge disappears instantly, but because you will no longer be fighting against environments that constantly weaken your spirit. Peace changes everything. Clarity returns. Energy returns. Creativity returns. Hope returns. And heaven says your spirit deserves that restoration now. My beloved child, one day you will look back at the season where everything started falling apart and realize God was actually pulling you out of the place where your soul almost disappeared completely. The discomfort was rescue. The separation was protection. The transition was mercy. Even the loneliness carried purpose, because heaven needed to disconnect your spirit from places too small for your calling. Read that carefully again. Heaven disconnected you from places too small for your calling. Chosen one, there is one final thing Archangel Michael needs you to hear before this message ends. Stop mourning environments God is removing you from. Read that carefully again. Stop mourning what heaven is moving you beyond. The place where you suffered cannot become the place where your spirit fully rises. The environment that weakened your peace cannot carry the fullness of your destiny. And the people who only knew your survival version cannot always follow you into your healed season. That truth may hurt temporarily, but it creates freedom permanently. My beloved child, very soon you will understand why your spirit became restless, why old environments stopped fitting, why familiar places suddenly felt emotionally heavy. God was moving you away from exhaustion, moving you away from limitation, moving you away from emotional survival, and moving you toward the place where your spirit finally belongs. Because chosen one, you were never created to spend your entire life trapped where your soul suffered. You were created to rise beyond it.